Hello, that'll work better if I actually add my face to it. But yeah, I needed an intro just to one that was a little longer than previous because the previous one often wouldn't be long enough. But how is everyone doing? We're just looking at all of the looking at day 3 of the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. It's been a day. I am. I have some thoughts. And somebody says no boom. Yeah, no boom. No boom on this one. But just it was a bit of a day. I see people saying, sorry, Peter just ditched him. No, don't need to ditch him. Has everyone got a drink here? I think that this one is this one's gonna be a bit of an interesting one. So all right. Now I see Peter's almost done. That's good stuff. This is yeah, you're the boom. Well, thank you very much. This was a tough day to get through. I didn't like lots of the witnesses today. In fact, I didn't really like any of the witnesses, but I liked some of the witnesses. Some of the witnesses just bored me, or one of the witnesses just bored me. The other ones I thought were bad in various ways. So let's talk about that. So, I guess we'll start off with our morning. And the morning had some interesting little wrinkles and tidbits. I'm just going to see if I can properly share this here.
What did you find out about the...
Oh, let's just see. All right. I'm going to try to see if I can present this properly. Oh, I got to bring up my little... this thing. Can't forget that thing. All right, let's bring that up. All right, so how are we doing? There we go. Let's have a listen. So this was something I thought was weird.
Jury. Ready to go? Okay.
I think I've got the right.
Is everyone ready to begin?
Timestamp?
5 minutes, maybe? 3 minutes? Okay.
And Your Honor, one thing that we didn't address that I think we should in terms of showing this video is, and maybe nothing that I asked to go in is
I
in.
didn't.
I'm trying
That's
to recall here now.
Terrifying.
There was one section, I think.
So I think that will need to be read because it's not on the video. So
Lemon vodka,
Yeah,
nice.
if we get to that, you can just...
I'm happy to just read it if that's the best way to go forward.
I think that is the best way to go forward.
We thought we could put Mr. Norman on the stand, have him read the question, have her read the answer.
Sure, and that's on page 49.
That's fine. And if you get into a situation, Mr. Sorensen, where you can't, mute it and bring it back, you can read those portions as well.
Okay.
All right.
I think they're getting to the thing I wanted to sort of cover here. Oh, now we've got it silenced.
Did you say page 49?
Oh, folks with water, that's sensible.
Because our understanding was the objection was that everything was remaining in and they wanted it out.
Yeah, I really like
On
this
page
judge too. I
49?
see, like this judge.
Is that what
I
we're
really
talking
like the
I
about?
judge
thought I had
too.
agreed that we could just have that in.
I don't think it's not out right now, is it? I thought it was in.
Yeah.
So this is just sort of ordinary basic stuff. And then they had a weird
I think it's
question.
in.
Oh,
So here
sorry.
they're
I have
negotiating
in
as
and
to
out.
what's in and what's
It's okay.
out.
And I was up till 1 looking at
I
this.
think it's in.
It's in. We'll just
Sorry.
Want it out, you say and say.
I'm sorry.
play the video. We're good.
Sorry.
We're good.
So 53,
And
50.
Judge,
Gee,
so you
nice.
know, this is about a minute and
This is going to be a
An hour
huge
and
issue.
19
Where's that
seconds.
GoPro video?
Thank you.
now, if we need to take a break in between, that's fine. I think it's not a bad idea. So you just tell us when to take a short break if we need to, as you know.
All right.
Thanks.
Did I skip past the interesting bit here? I'm still figuring out timestamps. This is its own sort of rough, thing as I try to figure out how to do these recaps a little bit. I thought today it's really tough to see. Oh, we're going to talk about this. Did I see when Mr. Owens apologized to Polly for being an ass? I put that up on Twitter. I had some thoughts about that because, I mean, why? There's so many whys about that. It's just all the why. All right, now. It looks like this is where they're bringing the jury back in because he's standing up. I might have accidentally skipped the key moment here. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting was right at the beginning, there was a fight, and it was the stupidest fight. Did you guys catch this where they had where the defense team was like, we would like to bring in treats for the bailiffs, which is probably not appropriate, right? Because the bailiffs are expected to be doing, they're expected to be impartial, like nobody should. And the plaintiff side is like, we disagree. We are objecting to that. And so now it's, that kind of puts the plaintiffs in a tough spot because either they agree and the bailiffs are happy that defense is buying them treats, or they disagree and now they're the jerks that prevented the bailiffs from getting treats. I was just like, it's such a weird thing. Like, I brought like treats and so forth for the clerks, but not for the clerk at a trial I'm running. I just bring treats, like I'll bring donuts and just give them to the clerk's office, and then the clerks can share them out. But it's not like while I'm doing a trial. That would be inappropriate. So I don't know. And that's just weird. All right. So that I thought was very strange and very unusual. So are they going to do that? Did that happen on record? That can't have happened on record.
Good morning, members of the jury. The lawyers are getting ready to show you a videotaped piece of testimony,
Now,
and they're just finishing their preparations for that, so we're just going to sit and wait for just a minute.
said, I highly doubt treats would impugn the bailiff's impartiality. I would just let it go. I would have too. If I was the plaintiffs, I would have just said, you know what? Actually, what I probably would have said is, all right, defense is allowed to bring in treats, but we insist that we'll cover it next time, right? We'll cover it next time, and then that way the bailiffs get treats both days, but you just get to cover that one. So I just thought that was really strange. I see it's Mormon country, bringing treats is a cultural nicety. I mean, most cultures, bringing a snack or nice food is it's a pretty standard like gift, right? Everybody likes a good snack. Everybody likes something that is tasty and so forth. But if I was plaintiffs, I would have said, you know what, we insist that we'll do it tomorrow. Like, that'll be on us, right? And I see somebody saying, why not just offer to buy lunch? They've already agreed on that. The jurors are getting lunch each day, and the jurors are, the sides are splitting the costs of lunch. So that's kind of interesting there. I see Jenny GA, what Owens did by taking a deposition from Jenny, who is severely mentally ill, is despicable. I hope she sues him if she can. If you're mentally ill, you can still be called to testify. I have run trials where witnesses who were seriously mentally ill were testifying, and it's just a thing. Fast group, I'll have to check. So let me have a look and see. Maybe resend, and I will try to make sure to look out for it. So I see most of the bailiffs were sweethearts deserving of treats. Most bailiffs are. I just thought it was very strange. All right. So, so that's a discussion over at Peter's. So let's just see here. They're bringing the jury in here, or the
In Mountain Time, March 14th, 2023. This is the case of Terry Sanderson.
So let's talk about this. This is Alina, and she's got a really cool middle name, Fong. And this is a video deposition. And you know the thing that the thing about video like testimony in court is it is brutal. It sucks to sit through because you don't get any of the like back and forth that you normally would have. You don't have any of the like life that you would normally have. So watching video testimony in court is really, really hard on a jury. So this was going to be a rough day for the jury overall. Now, I actually thought she started out pretty decent. And, we can sort of look at a little bit of her testimony here. I thought she started out fairly well.
And then now he's down here. But if everyone else is down here, he'll be kind of in the average, maybe high average range. But, we could assume maybe he was in the superior range prior to that. And so we often see cases where neuropsych testing or neurocognitive testing can be totally normal, but the patient can still have a concussion. And in fact, one of the best.
Now, here's going to be an interesting thing here because you might be saying, did we lose audio? Judge is going to clarify that.
The blank out is intentional.
Does everyone remember the dispute that they had about fMRI and how the fMRI information, specifically with her, was excluded from the court? April, I am not dissing Peter. I explicitly said people should go, like my tweet announcing this was to say, I said, go watch his stuff beforehand. And I was watching his stream because I really like his content. We may not always agree on stuff, but I like his content. So I'm not dissing anybody else. 100% the opposite. He's got excellent commentary and you should watch it. But yes, her fMRI information was knocked out. That was excluded. So what she was about to say is that the best evidence on this is the fMRI information. And that's not allowed. So that is forbidden. That's why that was knocked out. Oh, April was talking about the chat. Fair enough. So that's interesting because she has a whole bunch of things about that to say. She was overall, my impression of her was a fairly decent witness. But I say overall, that doesn't mean entirely. She did a lot better on direct than she does on cross.
Okay,
so, and there's some fun moments. I'll see if we've got a fun moment here.
Right now. I'd like to talk about, in particular, Terry Sanderson's case. It's my understanding you recommended that he travel. Why did you recommend that he travel?
Love his stuff.
So when he completed the boot camp with us, part of what he said that he missed and part of what gave him so much joy was traveling. And as someone like Terry, who I actually really love to travel, right? In fact, I'm heading to Europe for work to present at some conferences internationally. I encouraged him to try to get back to doing things that he loved. I did caution him that he should not travel alone because of his memory issues and other problem-solving issues. But I did strongly recommend that he try to get back to doing things that he enjoys.
Welcome.
And that included travel.
So,
So that blink out was another place where there was something that was cut. This is one place where I kind of feel that the jury may be getting a little bit lost. And what I mean by that is that the jury is going to have some issues about sympathy, right? The jury is going to be dealing with issues of who do they like. And this is right from the outset. The plaintiff has a substantial advantage here. And that's because Gwyneth Paltrow is profoundly dislikable. Like profoundly dislikable. And she's not making it any better as she sits there in the, she sits there beside her counsel making all these faces the whole time. She's so unlikable. And I think she's going to be even more unlikable when she actually gets up on the stand. So, problem is that now they've got all of this testimony about how much his life sucks now. And I feel like the testimony about how much his life sucks might be insulting to some people. Like his life sucks because he's going on trips all the time and he's got all this money and he's got all of this, and he's so much smarter than you that just being normal like you peasants makes him like seriously seriously at a deficit. I feel that some of this might not be landing as well. So we'll just see. I mean, it's I feel that they have a bit of a problem with that. And yes, this is really important. And then you had her unlikable lawyer. Her lawyer is so dislikable, so massively unlikable. Yeah.
can you, how would you describe the treatment then that he's received at your clinic?
So the treatment was very intensive, very targeted and focused to those particular regions, right, that we saw. And it
Which
is a
we didn't
boot
see
camp. I mean,
because it
he
was
was here with
excluded.
us for a full week. He participated in no less than 32 hours of therapy, and then the rest of those hours were filled with before and after imaging, right? He was very compliant, but every day he had at least 1 hour of cognitive therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, neuromuscular therapy, vision, vestibular, and even psychotherapy, right? I mean, you cannot extricate some of the, the depression and anxiety aspects because he suffered from that beforehand. So we made sure he got some of that here into treatment as well.
That's a fair comment.
Hey, Lawrence, if I may, I'm just noting that if she has to leave at 3:30, there's only an hour left, and I have an outline of like 10 pages. So it's going to be tough for me to get through without the rest of the time here.
Okay, we'll try to go quickly.
There have been a lot of complaints from both sides about time. It's been really weird watching this because plaintiff's counsel has been like, oh, well, we wasted an hour and now I'm running out of time and I don't know how to do this. And then we've got Owens who's like, you need to stop asking questions because I'm not going to get to my things. And I'm just like, everybody sounds so whiny, like so whiny. Did anyone watch Ben Chu's comments about Gwyneth's behavior in court? I didn't, but I can guess what it's going to be. I can guess that it's going to be that she was, she needs to not be doing that because, oh my God, get your face in line. But yeah, so I actually feel for her lawyer. He must be under tremendous stress having a celebrity as a client. Plus he seems to be super concerned about the clock. Yeah, and I mean that's fair. I might have phrased this a little differently and just said, hey, I just want to make sure you're aware of the clock. We have a time limit here. And if you're going to run long, I would like to schedule another day. Like something along those lines. Because this is pre-recorded. The only thing I like about counsel is Runkle's photo of him. That was just such great timing on that. So yeah, this is it was a weird day. Now somebody says, why was her evidence excluded? She doesn't have enough of an fMRI pool, apparently. The doctor or the judge found that it was unscientific. And yeah, I see that is Paltrow's serious resting business face. If she was smiling, there'd be complaints that she was trying to win over the jury or wasn't taking it seriously. She's very shy and private. The problem is she makes faces repeatedly, right? So that's the bigger issue, is that she keeps making faces. All right. So let's sort of skip ahead here. There's a moment I wanted to capture here because it was one of those moments where I'm just like, what the heck?
Normal pressure hydrocephaly is just kind of this, it's an abnormal buildup or an increase in cerebrospinal fluid in the brain's ventricles, right? And so it was noted, I know in 2009, the interesting thing to note was that he was asymptomatic with this, right? So people can have this and not even know that they have it until, you get a brain scan or something. So I think he was identified as having that, but I believe that the doctor or the radiologist or the doctor who ordered that noted that he was not symptomatic at the time. But one of the things that I want to point out is that was one of the risk factors for him having post-concussion symptoms.
I thought this was really good for the plaintiff, this part right here. And the reason why this is good is because the defense has been really hammering this and saying, like, listen, he's got all these like pre-existing conditions and so forth. And they're saying, listen, yeah, he's got these pre-existing conditions. They didn't mean that he was suffering any consequences or whatever else. All it means is that he was more vulnerable. And the reason why that's important is because if you are vulnerable and somebody injures you and you suffer greater injuries because you're vulnerable, that still means you get to recover. So, yeah, that's important here.
That was one of the risk factors for him having a complicated recovery, or a kind of a more complex pathophysiological process here that I don't think is being appreciated by the defense's experts. It kind of almost made him more fragile and more susceptible to these issues. I just want to point out, they're not mutually exclusive. He can't, it's not that, he has NPH and that's all he has. If you have NPH, imagine, and then you have a significant hit to the head when you're flopped onto your face, broken ribs and everything, that amount of force is going to cause trauma to any brain, let alone a brain that already has NPH as a diagnosis. So they're not mutually exclusive. If anything, they compound each other.
I like how everybody's got a brain model. Like, I need to get a brain model here. I'm feeling left out. All I've got is a skull model. So, but they're like, she's smacking into it. She's banging it around. She's waving it around. I thought that was pretty entertaining there. I see every brain doctor always has a brain in arm's reach. I mean, I feel like I need a brain model now. So, yeah. All right, let's, there's a moment here that I thought was just entertaining.
What are the American Psychological Association Code of Ethics directives on doing exams, according to your understanding, that are involved with these defense experts?
Can you clarify your question? I'm not sure what you're asking.
Are you familiar with the Code of Ethics?
Yes, of course. The American Psychological Association Code of Ethics, of course. Yes.
What do they say about doing exams?
You mean like neuro?
Section A.
Yeah, can you?
Okay. Are they supposed to do them, psychologists, when they're doing exams, such as for Dr. Terry Sanderson?
You mean?
Oh, well, let's skip that. We're running short on time.
What he's trying to get at is he's trying to get her to say that the defense experts are unethical. And she doesn't go there. She's like, I'm not really feeling cool on that one. So, yeah, I see, Lita Randolph, Ian, I'll send you a brain model via Rob's P.O. Box. If you send it to Rob's P.O. Box, Rob's going to have it. I've got my own P.O. Box. So if you want to send me one, then that's where you send it. But, yeah, I just got the skull model here. But yeah, they're trying to get her to say that the defense experts were behaving in an unethical fashion. And I will give her some credit that she shies away from it. So that's I'll give her points on that.
Are there what other criticisms do you have of the neuropsychological experts for the defense? Any other before we leave?
I'm sure I do have some, but I'm sure that James will bring them up.
Okay. That's all I have for right now. Thank you, Dr. Fong.
Okay, great. Let's get right to it. Dr. Fong, I'm going to be kind of quick and curt, but it's not because I want to be a jerk. It's just because I have a job to do and want to help us make sure we're getting to the truth here the best that this process can do.
Sure.
So if you wouldn't mind just making sure you really listen to my questions, answer them, especially if it's just a yes or no. It'll help if you just give me that, and then you'll have a chance to explain yourself with some of the other questions as well.
So I thought this intro was a little bit interesting. I'm going to be a bit of a jerk. It's like, well, you got no other way to be, man. He kind of just is a jerk by nature, if this is Owens. So he's struggling here, but yeah, the reason why he's doing this is partially because he is going to have to be direct. Like, he's going to have to get to the point. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need to preface this. And I see it's James, not Owens. All right, well, so this is Clark Kent. I wouldn't start with that. I would just say, because of the time, I'm going to have to be a little direct, a little curt with my questions. I hope you can answer them, directly as well. We're just short on time. We need to get through this. So yeah, I didn't think that was super fantastic. Then we've got some other fun salt that we saw in this one.
Explain yourself. So, Dr. Fong, just to be clear, you did not ask for prior medical records and go through those to see what there might be in Mr. Sanderson's past, correct?
That is not correct.
How is that not correct? At your deposition, you made it really clear that you did not look at prior medical records.
Well, but I did not go off nothing for that. I asked him about his history.
Dr. Fong, I did not say that you went off nothing. I very specifically asked whether you went through medical records to look for prior history that might have some influence on Mr. Sanderson's findings in your clinic. And the answer is that you did not do that, correct?
I did not do that for Terry, but I don't do that for most patients that come to me. And so I need to just further correct you that most times when you go to the doctor, you don't come with a whole stack of medical records. You come to the doctor saying, hey, these are my symptoms. This is what's going on. This is what happened. Can you treat me? And so
Sure.
I just want to be very clear. I am not a forensic. I don't do this forensically. A lot of the defense experts, that's when they'll need all these medical records to make all these opinions. I'm a treating doctor. I come with the patient as they are. I'm provided medical records sometimes.
Right, but you did know when you treated Mr. Sanderson that he was in active litigation about exactly the sorts of things you were evaluating him for, and that you're.
So this is interesting. Peter and I disagreed on this one, and I'm gonna say, if you got to decide who to go with Peter on this one, because what I was talking about is my personal experience going to neuropsychiatrists and what they were like here in Edmonton, and also on a very different sphere, because I was there, and so I've got attention deficit. This probably isn't a surprise to most people, but yeah, when I was, so my original psychiatrist was off in Vancouver, and he died, and I needed to get a new new neuropsych, and the original guy also had attention deficit, and it turns out that his record keeping was basically like piles of paper. So when we were trying to get the papers, they basically said, you're never going to get them from this guy. Like, your records just do not exist. And this was a major pain in the butt, because then when I went to new neuropsychs and I was like, hey, I'd like to get some treatment, they were like, not without your previous records, you don't. And so that made it very, very difficult. I couldn't get a prescription for anything without the previous records. So I thought this was a little odd. But I mean, Peter does this kind of work. And if he says that he doesn't see like that this is fairly common, then I'm going to go with him on this one. So that said, I mean, it does seem strange. And I don't like the way she's like, well, you're defense experts, you need all these, but I'm a treating physician. It's like, yeah. So it's, I didn't like this a lot, but, so let's continue a little bit here.
Your testimony, your opinions would be used in this case, did you not?
No, I did not, because there are some people that come in with attorneys that never, ever, ever ask me for an opinion at all. We have some people that come in without an attorney that through the course of the time get one, and then I have to testify. But I think unlike some of your defense experts, I'm a treating physician 95% of the time. I only do this when I have to in these cases.
Right, but I think you're misunderstanding what I'm getting at. I'm not.
The thing is, it is appropriate for an expert to comment on on the other side's experts' reports and to say, I disagree with their findings and so forth. What I don't like is how she's getting into taking shots at the experts. And in fact, we've seen a lot of the experts doing this, taking shots at the experts in ways that feel a little personal here. Like, unlike your defense experts, I'm a treating physician. It's like, I don't like that. That rubs me the wrong way, and it gets worse here.
I'm not saying you always testify. I'm saying you knew that your records would be, and your conclusions that you put in your records would be likely be part of litigation, correct?
See, yes, and that word was likely. I don't know though, right? I mean, sure. I treated him like I treat everybody else, because just because someone has an attorney doesn't mean that it's going to go to litigation. And I've been in this game long enough to know that.
No, of course, I know that as well. But because you knew that.
A lot of people on Twitter did not like the turn of phrase there. A lot of people there said that they didn't like her saying that I've been in this game long enough, because, she's making it sound like a game. That didn't bother me at all, because I've used that turn of phrase. I've been in the game, like talking about, I've been a criminal lawyer. One of the things is, despite my gray hair, I'm a little baby-faced. Let me just see if I can bring this up here. I'm a little bit baby-faced. I occasionally get carded buying booze. Like literally, I've gone in and bought booze not that long ago, like earlier this year, and they were like, gonna need some ID. So I sometimes have run into lawyers who are like, who kind of assume that I am super green. They assume that I'm like 12, or, I had one lawyer actually, this is a bit of a funny story. The lawyer said, well, just because you might be Doogie Howser here. And I was like, what? Did you just call me Doogie Howser? How old do you think I am? And he's like, 19, 20. I'm like, dude, I'm 40. Like, and at this point I'm 43. So it was like, what the heck? He assumed that I just was like platinum blonde and like super young. And he was like, oh, but yeah, I was just sitting there going, so sometimes I'll say like, I've been playing this game for a while. I thought it was a little bit funny with the whole like, Doogie Howser. I was like, seriously, dude, that's the shot you're gonna take at me? So yeah, yeah, she gets even more snippy.
It was likely to go to litigation because it was in active litigation. Why is it that you didn't ask for records so that you could be as precise as you can be, right? I mean, you should be able to do some interrogation of the facts that you're
this is Clark Kent,
that you're gathering from him, so that you can feel confident about the results that you offer. Correct?
No, and see, this is where I think you're trying to miscategorize me, James.
There we go.
I didn't treat Terry any differently than I treat any other patient that comes to my clinic, whether they're in litigation or not. All my job is to testify as to what I did with him, the treatment that I had with him, and I did just as well with Terry's information that I do with the 18 patients that I have outside my door right now. So in the cases where there are medical records to be seen, I will see them, but I don't think you fully appreciate how busy my clinical practice is. I don't think you fully appreciate how many patients there are with post-concussion symptoms. I mean, of all the traumatic brain injuries that occur, 90% of them are MTBIs or concussions.
I'm so busy and I'm so important. I don't think you understand just how busy and important I am. This did not play well with me. Like this, I thought she was probably losing the jury here. This comes off as like super snide, super. So yeah, I didn't like that. And the other thing I really not liking is this bit here. She calls the attorney by his first name. If I've got a witness who says, Ian, it's like, no, that's Mr. Runkle. You can call me Mr. Runkle. That's just, and I have, you don't want that sort of casual talk. That's a strategy on her part, right? She's not showing him the respect he's due as counsel here. So yeah, that is, and this is an important one. She lost me when she refused to answer a very simple yes or no question 10 times. I can tell you that when I get a witness who starts doing that, one of the things I will start asking them is like, I'll come in with a really simple yes, no question. And sometimes the strategy, like if you've got a witness who's just been so defensive and so unwilling, like so intransigent and unwilling to actually respond to anything, I've been known to be like, yes or no, you'd agree that it's Tuesday today, right? And they're like, assuming it was Tuesday, it's not Tuesday today, but and they're like, yes. And you just respond with, oh, good. I'm glad we could agree on something then. Just to be a little smarmy, just to be a little, to point out how resistant they've been to that. So I did not like this at all. All right, let me catch up on some gifted memberships and some super chats here. I see. I mean, lawyers on cross have horrible behavior. Why should the person being questioned be weak and meek? You do much better when you are just answering questions. The witnesses that scare me aren't the snarky witnesses. It's the ones like Dr. Hare. Dr. Hare there was absolutely fantastic, and he never gets snarky. He just drops things right, he's just casual. He's answering the questions. He was arguing about his own, he was arguing with his own counsel when they were saying like, hey, wouldn't you agree with this? He's like, nope, that's not correct. He was just ever the consummate professional. So yeah. All right. So I'll just give some thank yous for the super chats here. So thank you to Equality for 5 gifted memberships here. Thank you as well to Elaine for 5 gifted memberships. And thank you to Lady Draconis for 10 gifted memberships. We've also got some super chats to catch up on. Carolyn Knight, thank you very much. Love you and your reasonable mind, Ian. Thank you very much. Heart emoji and prayer emoji. Thank you. Karen Conrad, welcome. Thank you for the new membership there. Horse Welfare, has anyone admitted to seeing the GoPro footage? No. That's gonna be real interesting when the plaintiff gets up on the stand. That is gonna be fireworks. That's gonna be epic fireworks. So yeah. So mad about mental health exposed without consent. I mean, it is something that can happen in a trial, but I don't like what happened today. We'll talk about it because I don't like it at all. I see you're legally bound to answer, and when you only answer your side, you appear to take sides and therefore not credible. Yep. Theoretically, a witness, like an expert witness like this, and really just about, almost every witness, your job is to get up there and just tell the truth. And an expert, properly speaking, is supposed to be there to assist the court. And that is, they're supposed to be there to offer, things neutrally. Nicole has opinions. I've seen your opinions on Twitter. I agree with some of them, not all of them. So, yeah. Runkle, what do you take from her body language on cross? I don't put a whole lot of weight in body language, but she does seem like she's upset and aggressive. I'd agree with that. Let's see. Do you notice Dr. Egg butchering his high school physics? We know the time because of gravity, ignoring they were going downhill with some speed. Yeah, there were some interesting things there. Kathy, thank you very much for the super sticker. Lita Randolph, Ian, I'll send you a brain model via Rob's P.O. box. Well, thank you. Saying this is where I disagreed with Peter. Every specialist wants previous specialist records. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of a tough thing here. All right, let's skip ahead a little bit. Because she made another comment that I had some thoughts about, had some opinions. We'll just try to get to it here.
This and say that how do you know it's not just aging? How do you know it's not just this? How do you know it's not just this? Because you're ignoring the big event that catalyzed all this, that started all.
No, I'm not. Dr. Fong, I'm not. I have an understanding from other experts, including experts on plaintiff's side, that the vast majority of concussions are treated in a short period of time. It's totally possible, is it not? Just I want a clear answer on this. Is it not possible that Mr. Sanderson had a concussion, the concussion symptoms resolved, and then he's continued to have other problems that you treated him for that were not concussion related? Is that not possible?
I mean, anything's possible. It is not probable. It is not probable because I think you are completely ignoring the fact that he had these prior issues.
I really don't like the tone that they've managed to get here. He's gotten dragged into bickering with the witness. That's not good. You never look good bickering with the witness. She is she's getting overly invested. She's getting overly upset and, she's combative at this stage, but he's bickering with her. And if she's going to be getting into that kind of bickering stuff, you as counsel want to be calm and quiet. You want to be smiling. You want to be sitting there looking like she's unreasonable. He's not doing that. He's getting into the dirt. And I don't like that from him. I don't like her defensiveness. And then she goes and says something that is really, really unfortunate.
Which makes him more fragile and significantly more at risk for these issues.
Yeah, but Dr. Fong, you haven't
Can I
even
finish?
reviewed. Sure.
Okay, can I finish? And they're not mutually exclusive. He can have these issues and have a concussion. And sure, I mean, at this point,
I understand that, Dr. Fong. I understand that. You've made that clear. What I'm saying is you didn't do any work aside from getting a self-report from Mr. Sanderson, who you knew was litigating these claims. You did not do anything to figure out what his history was from the time he had the concussion to the time that you treated him. That's correct. Other than self-report from him, you didn't do anything to assess what had happened to him, correct?
that is what I do with all my patients, James.
I know, but that doesn't matter if you've done it with all your patients. I'm just pointing out that you don't have a strong foundation in terms of the evidence to make a strong, confident claim that his concussion symptoms didn't resolve, and then he developed other symptoms or other prior symptoms persisted that were unrelated to the concussion. You didn't do anything aside from speaking to him to assess that. Is that correct?
All I can say to that is that
I need a yes or no on
there
that.
is
That's
no
a
yes or
pretty
no.
simple question.
This is no, it's not a simple question. And here's how I'm going to answer it. I have more time with him. I have more evidence. I have more treating evidence with him. So I'm more apt and have more ability to answer this question than any of the other experts on either side because of the amount of time I spent with him. So if you're going to criticize the amount of time I spent with him and the information I gathered, remember that I'm the one who actually spent that week of treatment with him and have had more contact with him. So of all the experts that, hold on, please. Of all the experts that are opining, I feel like I'm the best judge of what happened to him in that case. And so again, you want to criticize me, we can flip that around and say, well, your expert spent no time with him. So, again,
Sure.
I mean, it's back and forth, but all I can say, and I think you're going to keep beating this horse down. I gathered as much information from him as I did with all my other patients. I'm not going to treat him specially just because he has an attorney. He came to me with these problems. I treated him with these problems. And he's, he did get better in a lot of areas. He's still struggling. And that's what the focus needs to be.
I don't think that this went well for her, that this particular exchange went well for her. I don't think it went well for Clark Kent either. Now, I'm going to note there's people who disagree on this, but with her coming in being like, I am the best expert, whatever else, I don't think that necessarily played the best. She's like, I am the best at knowing everything and so forth. It's like, she doesn't react well to being challenged. She doesn't react well to somebody sort of disagreeing with her. And that is not a great place to be for an expert. So this got really into the mud. And I think everybody walked away worse for it. Now, the problem is that if you walk away and you're unhappy with Clark Kent on this one, okay, fine. But if you walk away and you're unhappy with her, you're likely to give her evidence very little weight. So I didn't think that this worked out well for her overall. But I mean, I see people disagreeing. I see people saying that, she was, they're fighting against this guy. I don't know. Right. And different people are going to have different takes on it. But that was just my feeling on that one. So, and I note here, of the two of them, I thought she came out ahead, but it was unfortunate all around. The thing is at the end of the day, if they hate her and him, it's a win for Clark Kent here. So that's sort of where we sit. All right. I'm getting a request to slow the chat. I'll try to slow it a little bit, but not a whole lot. We'll start with a little bit here. We're going to take it over to a 30-second slow mode and to subscribers. There we go. All right. Hopefully that'll help the mods out a little bit here. So, yeah, I agree with her point, but her delivery was awful. Yeah. And here's the issue. To me, it says a lot about their case if they have to rely on the testimony of someone whose diagnosis is defined by an altered perception of reality. The issue that they are going to have is that the defense here is clearly running an angle where they're saying, like, he's not being honest to his physicians, right? That he's not being honest to he's not being honest to the doctors who are treating him. He's decided he's going to be famous, and he's willing to lie, including to his doctors, to do it. That makes it bad when she's coming in saying, I didn't do any checking. Because if she didn't do any checking and she's just relying on self-reports, then that provides a vulnerability on all of this. So, yeah. Why is a treating physician being allowed as an expert? Because there's nothing saying that they can't. Oh, that was a comment about Jenny. Well, Jenny is a whole... we'll get to Jenny. She's a whole other thing there. People wondering about the thing behind her. I think that's a decal. I think that is a... it looks to me like it's a heart-shaped thing. I think it's just coming through in poor focus and getting... getting a little... pixelated. All right, so now let's go and we'll look at another moment that I thought was just what the heck.
Week with him, I still had some issues that I noted there. I recommended some further treatment for him, but it's a brain injury. I mean, it's and I only get a week with them. Like I said, in some cases, especially in younger patients, they can get better pretty quickly and we never hear from them again and they're off. But, to be honest, Terry was already, I don't know, maybe he was in his 70s by the time he came to us. I'm not sure, maybe 70s, I don't know. But, older adults do tend to have a little bit of a harder time, there's not as much neuroplasticity. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons. I think some of the reasons too could be the premorbid issues he had, like the NPH and the prior migraines and other things that, made his recovery harder and more complicated.
I agree with this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm done. Let me just look at one more page if I may. Is that okay? I'm sorry to take your time here.
Why don't we go on a break then?
Back on record, the time is 4:01.
Thank you, Dr. Fong. That'll be it.
That's it?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Fong. Again, I apologize for, I could have treated you better, but it sort of felt time crunched. I had a lot to get to. I didn't mean to interrupt a bunch, but thanks for being patient with me.
Thank you, James, and thanks for everyone to hearing me out here. And yeah, appreciate it.
What the heck? Why would you do this? I'm sorry. I could have treated you better. That was a bad idea. Because now the jury, like, if the jury didn't like if they didn't like Clark Kent before, they don't like him now. With that apology, it doesn't fix anything. It just lampshades that. So don't apologize for it. If you got to be a jerk, just be a jerk. Sometimes it is required as a lawyer that you have to go in and be a jerk. I thought that was really not a great move. And the other thing is, if you did have that, then why wouldn't you, like, they're editing stuff out. Why wouldn't you just edit that out? Like, because it's not a question. I would have said, hey, can we edit this out? It's really not a, it's not a question. It's just an issue there. How often do you apologize for raking a witness over the coals? I've apologized to witnesses, just not in open court, not where it's recorded. Like, I've apologized to witnesses afterwards, been like, hey, sorry, I know that was a little rough. I'm just, it's part of the court process. I've apologized to some police and so forth. So, yeah, this might be it. I wonder if they expected her to testify when they deposed her, then only bits of the transcript come in. That may well be. So, yeah, I just think that the apology was not a good move. He just planted the seed that these defense attorneys are jerks. Yep, that is entirely kind of my thought there. All right, so now we're getting into, we'll look at sort of the next witness that came up, and she was up there for a while. So we'll just pull her up. Why didn't she testify? I'm guessing she's busy. So now we're dealing with Polly. I don't know if she wants a cracker or not.
Thank you. Mr. Sykes, you may proceed.
You call Polly Gresham.
Thank you.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give to the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you.
Over here.
Have a seat.
Good morning, Ms. Gresham. Would you start by stating your full name and spelling it?
Sure.
I totally did just have to say it.
You might need to move that microphone a little bit to the center. There you go.
Okay.
My
name
eating
is
crackers.
Polly Sanderson Gresham. You need spelling?
Yeah, would you spell it?
Okay. Polly is Polly. Sanderson, Sanderson. Gresham is spelled Grasham.
Tell the jury, if you would, your age.
Yeah, just turned 49.
Okay. We all thought of 39. So don't worry about that. Now, tell them a little bit about your background in terms of where you grew up, your education, et cetera. Take us through university.
Okay. Grew up in a small town in.
So I actually thought that Polly did really well on direct. Polly was pretty good on direct. She goes through, she says, he used to be all of these great things. Now he's not. Now, he's got all of these other problems. I thought she came off on direct as very caring, very concerned, and they're looking to be just honest and so forth. She did really well on direct. I didn't like her as much after the cross, which means that the cross was effective, right? The cross did a better job of showing that there were some issues in there. So let's have a look at some of the places where things start to get interesting. And she testifies for a long time, so I'm going to skip over a lot of what she has to say, just so that we can see some of the key portions there. I see that bad mic position forces her into bad posture. She could have spoken into the mic from a distance. Those mics can pick up at a distance. I mean, you can see how much I got, about that much distance between me and my mic, and I think people can hear me just fine. So yeah.
Sure, but you didn't say, I think it's a good idea, Dad, that you bring the lawsuit. Or
I most definitely did not advise him one way or another. I think in hindsight now,
And I would say it's hard.
Actually, I have no pending. Oh, it's hard.
It will be hard, right? I knew that.
And somebody was saying, who is the woman that was just on? Right now, we've got Polly, who's the plaintiff's daughter. Before that, we had Alina Fong, who is she's the treating physician who she provided treatment for the concussion. And yes, this is an important thing. The mic is surely adjustable. Yes, it is. The mic, I mean, she can move the mic like that. That's doable. So
I want you to see if you kind of preface some of the things I'm going to ask you. So when I hear you say before, he's generally a healthy guy, before very good personality, before very active, good mental health, you understand that to compare what the ski accident did versus old age versus chronic health conditions and everything, I need to know kind of how your dad was on health, personality, mental health, activity level, and those things just before the event.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Sure.
So a lot of, when I say, for instance, he never saw health, he never seemed angry. He never got that angry with me. Didn't you say that? Like, for instance, his anger toward
that was a
Jenny.
new experience for me.
But it wasn't for Jenny, was it? Jenny's reported like 10 years of that kind of abuse in the last 10 years of your parents' marriage. True?
I can't speak to Jenny's experience.
Did Jenny, do you know
Did I
that?
witness that towards Jenny? I never witnessed that.
Did Jenny ever tell you, like, your dad used to verbally abuse her and your mom for 10 years?
Jenny and I have a very
Yes.
close relationship.
Just a yes or no, please. I need a yes or no.
There's no foundation. And it's also hearsay.
Your Honor, I need to be able to ask these questions.
Sustained.
Okay. Do you agree that you paint quite a different picture of your dad before than Jenny does?
So my sister Jenny.
Yes or no?
So the reason why that was hearsay is because he's trying to establish that dad was abusive to Jenny through the sister, which isn't there. So this is a question. Nicole, we'll get to that. So right now we see that he's starting to drive a bit of a wedge here, right? And this is a question. Now the thing is I see people saying knowing Jenny's diagnosis. We don't actually know her diagnosis. We know what plaintiff dropped into open court. We don't actually know her diagnosis. So that's still an open question. That may not be accurate. That may not be true, right? But Polly starts having some difficult, some difficult times with this, and that's a challenge here. We're going to see that there's a narrative coming out here that essentially that Polly had the much nicer experience in their relationship, and that Jenny maybe didn't as much. And the thing is I don't know which side of things, because I've heard the allegation with respect to the diagnosis, and one of the criteria, or one of the elements of that, is that people tend to be paranoid. They tend to sort of imagine that that they're being mistreated in situations where they're not. So that's possible. But the other thing is that siblings often have a very different experience of their childhood. And so I have seen a lot of circumstances where, where a parent treats one sibling different and, differently than the other. And that can be, it might be that one sibling has a different thing. We've heard that dad has very high standards. We've heard that he's controlling. We'll hear that in a little bit here. We've heard that if his standards are not met, that he can be kind of a jerk about it. And so that's potentially sort of an issue here. I don't know. That's sort of the concern here. So yeah, we're starting to see that narrative come out. And just skip ahead a little bit. See, this is a good question, his questions are very suggestive and border on leading. It's a cross-examination. He's allowed to just outright lead. He's 100% allowed to lead a witness on cross. You can tell a witness exactly what you want them to say, and they can agree or disagree, but you can say, like, you're the one who stole the apple, right? Leading as all hell, but it's allowed on cross. And in fact, there may be circumstances where you might be required to do so. Nicole, you don't know this. You don't know this because none of us know this. We've heard she's on disability. We don't know what she's on disability for. There are people, don't assume that what plaintiff dropped there is correct, because defense counsel straight up said that it wasn't. So we don't know.
Objection for the record.
We just don't know what this is.
I'm going to tell you things that Jenny has told us under oath, and I want you to comment on them, okay? Is it true that Jenny moved out of her parents' household after high school?
Correct.
All right. And how much older are you than Jenny?
I'm 6 years older.
And how many years had you moved out of the house before Jenny moved out of the house?
So I moved out at 18, so she would have been 12. So she
HIPAA
had
doesn't
6
apply.
years at
They're
home
not-
without me.
They're not
Okay,
her
and you weren't-
physicians.
And would you describe your parents' marriage as a good marriage when you left 6 years before their?
They were in the middle of a divorce, not an amiable one.
And his second divorce wasn't amicable either, was it?
Overruled?
She can always say, I don't know the answer. So when he says foundation, if you don't know the answer,
Yeah, HIPAA's
rather
for
than hear this
healthcare, not for
objection all
court.
the time, you can just say, I don't know.
I don't know.
Judge, there's one judge in the courtroom, and it's not Judge Owens. So I'd appreciate it if you would try to explain to the witness what things mean.
That's, I am not a judge.
I think each questioner can give some ground rules to the witness, and I think it was appropriate. So.
Was the second,
These lawyers need to, I think that, over the weekend, they need to go and box or something. They need to chill the F out. There's only one judge in the courtroom, and it's not Judge Owens. Just object, dude. Just object. That's all you need to do. This is getting overly snarky. It's getting overly ridiculous. I don't like that at all. But then again, Owens is easy to hate.
marriage amicable?
I don't know.
Don't you really? You have no idea if your dad's second marriage parted peacefully or not peacefully?
I don't know.
Well, what's your impression? What do you know? The divorce went smoothly or it didn't go smoothly?
I know that they're friends today.
Okay. So your answer?
it seems like they've been able to continue a friendship anyway.
The jury heard evidence yesterday by Mr. Goldstein, Dr. Goldstein, that these words described your father before the ski accident. And I want you to tell me, just if you observed this, he was controlling.
No.
He relentlessly tried to mold people.
All people, specific people?
Jenny,
I would say, yes, he did try to mold Jenny.
in a negative way.
I think he would say he was trying to be a positive influence.
I asked for your impression. Did you believe that's a positive thing?
I have no opinion on that.
Jenny has a pretty strong.
I have no opinion on that. Is evasive as heck. It just is. Let's see. Didn't find no one's that bad. I like him better than Poot. Wasn't Poot the guy who pointed a gun in the courtroom? Yeah. So she's dodging these questions, and she starts doing that a lot.
Strong opinion on that, doesn't she?
She does.
That it was in an awful, unhealthy way.
Yeah, the jury does not, from
Is
what
that
I
her
can hear,
opinion?
or what I've heard,
Are
the
those
jury
words
doesn't
used
like
in the deposition?
the
Just
lawyers doing
ask-
this.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been told not to read the deposition, so I'm just asking you to comment. Jenny believes it was an awful, unhealthy way. Do you agree?
No.
You think Jenny would say, by the way, let me ask about Jenny for a minute.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Jenny about this trial?
She knew I was coming. Mhm.
Jenny committed in writing to attend this trial, and then, let me finish my question, and then pulled out.
Sustained as irrelevant.
Also sustained as to testifying. This gets really nasty.
The jury should disregard the question.
Do you know if Jenny's planning to attend this trial?
To answer that. Oh, she is not planning on attending.
Do you know that there was a point in time when she committed to attend this trial?
Overruled.
Are you
I
aware?
was not aware.
Or that she was planning to attend the trial?
Questions asked and answered, so there's not relevance to any more questions along this line.
Did you or
That's move along, counsel.
anyone you know attempt to dissuade her from attending this trial?
No, she felt like it would be a financial hardship. I said I would be happy to pay for her plane ticket if she wanted to come.
I did too. Do you know that?
That's totally irrelevant.
I think the witness opened it up, so.
I offered to pay too.
No, I did not know.
The witness just opened it up. Awesome. This counsel is fantastic. Whoops. I just missed the, he's trying to imply that she convinced her not to show up. That is what he's trying to imply. Or that she was pressured not to show up by somebody, right? It doesn't have to be her. It could be dad told her not to show up.
So did you weigh in on that, Jenny? I don't think it's good for you to attend the trial.
No, not at all. I honor people's journey, and so that's entirely up to her.
For lunch yet?
2 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you believe with this statement, with Jenny, your dad was constantly overstepping her boundaries?
No foundation.
Overruled, there's a standing objection on that.
Standing objection. Yes or no?
Again, repeat.
He was constantly overstepping the boundaries she set. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
He would be frequently frustrated if his expectations were not met.
Agree.
He had a very strong emphasis on discipline.
With Jenny?
Sure.
Agree.
he had very high demands and would be very frustrated if his expectations were not met.
Disagree.
Okay. And to be clear, we're all talking about pre-ski collision, true?
Correct.
All right. That he was domineering to Jenny and your mother.
Disagree.
Okay, I'm going to split those because that was a compound question, we call it. So as to Jenny.
He's like, I realized that the other side didn't object to this, but I really also needed to split this up so that I can just be clear. Compound questions aren't necessarily, they're objectionable, but they're often just a bad question.
Was he domineering and emotionally and verbally abusive to her
Why
prior
is
to
it?
the
Are
ski
you
collision?
going with another compound
Disagree.
question?
So she made that up. She's testified under oath. She made that up.
It's her experience. So
I want
you're
the
asking
truth.
my opinion, and I think you have her experience.
Is she lying? I mean,
Are you saying there's one truth?
Yeah, just a second.
on certain facts, there.
Counsel has an
Sure.
objection. What's the
Yeah,
objection?
Your Honor, I don't think he can ask if someone else is lying. He doesn't know that. It's an improper question.
This is her sister, Your Honor, who
He can
she's
ask
very
what
close
facts-
to.
He can ask what the facts are. The jury can make up its own mind, but he shouldn't be concluding for someone that's not here whether she's telling the truth or not. That's improper.
I mean, under certain circumstances, a lay witness can offer an opinion. I don't think I've heard enough foundation for that opinion, so sustained.
I agree with this. He can ask properly, is that correct? But he can't ask, is she lying? You can see the difference there, right? Because lying is an intentional activity, right? Lying is something you do on purpose. Whereas somebody could be wrong. If I were to tell you, hey, I have $1 million, right? The question, of am I lying is different than the question of, do I have $1 million? And I can tell you, I don't, but it's, is that an intentional lie? Was that a joke? Was that, was I just wrong? Yeah, we don't know. So that question is too far. I see Law and Lumber saying, replay crew, Ian, you fell for the depot trick on the first name James drop. Attorneys will tell witnesses at depots to use their first name in the beginning, knowing they'll read the transcript using first name later. Seen it before. I don't like it. It just is what it is. But when I've had to testify, I just avoid referring to the lawyers at all. But that is a good thought. Rob, if you're free, feel free to pop on and explain further, because you've done more depots than I have. I always just do it live at trial.
So if Jenny says that your father was domineering, do you agree or disagree prior to the ski accident?
Disagree.
And if she so testifies, and we're going to read part of her transcript into the record, if she so testifies, that is not true. He was not domineering. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying he was not domineering.
So if Jenny says he was,
That is her testimony.
and you would disbelieve it.
My testimony would say he was not domineering.
Would you
Her testimony is that he was.
Right. So they can both be true?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled.
So depending on people's mental capabilities and disabilities, sometimes we experience events differently.
Is it possible that, for instance, your dad wasn't domineering with you, but he was with Jenny?
I think it is possible. I wasn't home.
Sure.
I was in college for many of those years.
Your dad was verbally abusive to Jenny before the ski accident. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Now, this is, the thing is, it might be that she's got mental health issues that mean that she's not a reliable witness, in which case you should say she's not correct about that. She experiences things that are incorrect, and, but she ends up looking bad in this exchange. She ends up looking like she is throwing her sister under the bus. I don't like this, sort of how she's going about this. I think that she's coming off badly here. Let's skip ahead a little bit, because, Actually, let's skip ahead a lot bit because we go to lunch. So we're skipping ahead by like an hour.
Ability of character evidence, which may be probative of truthfulness or untruthfulness, can be fraught with evidentiary issues. An examination that potentially falls under Rule 608 should first be addressed with and sanctioned by the court secured outside the presence of the jury. Okay, you with me on all that? I'm sure you are. There was testimony by Dr. Goldstein yesterday that the patient is not destimulating, or there was no destimulation. I think it's spelled maybe D-I-S, meaning the patient is not creating or enhancing symptomology for gain. There was also conversations that Mr. Sanderson had a good relationship with his daughters. There are various facts, some of which were already addressed, and I'm trying to avoid repeated bench conferences during the trial, during especially this next witness.
I just want to sort of mention something that's coming up in the chat here because it's a good discussion that she's protecting her sister, and that's quite possibly what she's doing. But it doesn't, in a lot of places, it doesn't look like she's protecting her sister. It looks like she's smarming her sister. And the way you get around that, the way you do that, like what you end up having to do is you just be honest and like just deliver it straight up. And you just say what's going on. Like, you know, you can say like, hey, she's so it felt to me watching this, not that she was trying to protect her sister. It felt like she was trying to protect her dad. That's who it came off as trying to protect. And I didn't like that at all, given some of the other comments there. So there's a lot of disagreement. And I think that this is really interesting because this has been a trial that really has a lot of people splitting a lot of different ways on a lot of subtle points. And so we don't know what the jury's going to do on this one, because the jury could be thinking protecting the sister, or could be feeling like Jordan L. here saying it looks like she's protecting her dad at the expense of her sister, that she discouraged her sister from testifying. Yeah, that's, you know, because when she comes out and says it's her truth, right? That line and like, you know, all of that, it really sounds like she's condescending. It sounds like she's really, you know, and it's really easy to, I mean, I'll just sort of lay this on the line. I have attention deficit. My childhood was not always the greatest, because when you are somebody who is neuroatypical, and if you're facing family expectations that you not be neuroatypical, or that you do the things that are difficult when you are neuroatypical, you may have a very different experience than your siblings. So it feels kind of like, you know, at least the way I read it is of, you know, she's trying to protect dad, that her sister may have had a crappier time of things, and that she's unwilling to acknowledge that the sister may have had a crappier time of things to protect dad. And that's what it feels like to me. But that's like, we all have different experiences, right? And depending on how this shakes out, the jury may have a different thought there. And this is a really important aspect here. This does come out. We hear this at the end of the trial. If the sister's diagnosis is brought up in front of the jury, it's going to be a mistrial in a hot second. The judge has already said that. So this is going to be interesting. But yeah, parents treat kids differently. They just do. They are different people. I do criminal defense. I've seen parents who are abusive to one kid, and the other kid thinks they had a great childhood. And it's just tough, right? So I actually think defense does a pretty good job here because she came in looking great, right? She came in looking fantastic. And at the end of the day, at least some of us disagree as to what this looks like, right? And so now she's able, like the defense has managed to at least muddy the waters here. There, I can guarantee you that in the jury room, there is going to be a dispute about this. And there's going to be people arguing back and forth over what to make of Polly's testimony. That is because of defense counsel's cross-examination here. They moved the needle on that. So I don't like this lawyer. Like, I just straight up don't like him. Like, on a personal level, I don't like him. But he did okay here. So that's the thing.
And I want to be careful and comply with the court's orders. All right, so there are 100 facts, Your Honor, that I think go to this issue of whether he is enhancing his symptomology for gain. Plaintiff's daughter, his own daughter, Jenny, says essentially his character is such that he will be dishonest and lie for gain. It's not quite those words, but it's essentially those words.
All right, and I also just want to note we have a new person in the background there. That is Danny Ann Direct, sitting there in the red suit. So she got to see some of the jury there.
That to become famous, essentially, he will lie. I'm putting it out there.
Have to do with the cross-examination that's about to occur.
Because I want to ask her if
true.
that's a true statement.
And what did she testify to on direct examination that's in response to?
You know, I didn't personally take those depositions.
No, what did this
Yes.
witness testify to here in open court that would I guess provide the relevance to that cross-examination?
I've only had 5 minutes and we haven't hit those questions yet.
I realize that, but I'm wondering.
So what I envision doing is saying, is this a true statement? And
From her
like
sister?
from her sister.
And what did she say on direct that opened?
He's
that
not
up, I guess, is
testifying
what I'm
because the
saying?
jury's not in right now.
Yes.
This
Like,
is
for example,
just
I did
a,
tweet
let me explain my thinking. So
Thank you.
the questions that you've already asked, I mean, this witness painted a fairly broad picture of her father's personality, his issue, his lack of issues or issues both before and after the accident. And so I think it's fair game for cross-examination to address those topics,
So thank you.
like you were.
I think I better understand the question.
So in other words, you said, well, isn't it, or are you aware that your sister felt differently
Yeah.
about this issue or that issue? And are you aware that your
because
sister
this
felt
is them
as though she
resolving
was
an objection.
treated this way by her father? I think those are fair areas of cross-examination for this witness because of the fact that she offered testimony.
I do
on
like this
those
judge. I
topics.
like this judge
So
a
I guess,
lot.
so my next question, and as long as it doesn't,
I like
as
this judge
the
a lot.
motion in limine order indicates, as long as it doesn't, I guess, tip the scale on 403 where its probative value starts decreasing because you covered the same area over and over again, or it's incredibly inflammatory and would be too prejudicial to read or to ask that question in front of the jury.
All right. So can I address that this is within the scope of cross-examination?
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's sort of what you're asking. Your Honor, all day yesterday were these neuroradiologists and neuropsychologists talking about every single aspect of Mr. Sanderson. For instance, well, this issue, I mean, literally an opinion by
Absolutely.
Goldstein that he's not
You may have
faking
people
for gain.
not attributing bad
All
to
right, so,
Polly, which is what he needs, and
I
instead
think it
just
would be
to
very
him.
unfair to my client to not address that issue with every single witness now that comes up. I mean, it's their plaintiff's position that he is not faking for gain. It's the defendant's position he is faking for gain. So I don't think I should be limited for her to just hit 20 points when I have a $3 million case to defend for my client on every aspect of his brain. Darlene, is that her name? Carlene, thank you, said this accident took the joy of life out of him. Goldstein, essentially the testimony is this utterly changed his life. And I think it would be wrong for us, be unfair to my client and just general, the system of justice for me to be restricted tightly to, okay, only, I can only ask her about how he couldn't tie a knot. I mean, I need to be way broader than that when we're dealing with a claimed severe permanent brain injury that's taken the joy of his life out. Thank you.
I think I understand the argument. Let me hear from the plaintiff. Mr.
That you could hear the emotion in his voice. It happens sometimes, but that's not a great place to be, right? Where that emotion is riding in. I'm wondering why that's happening here, but he really wants to get to this point. And yeah, I didn't like that moment.
Sykes, what's your position on this line of questioning as it was just outlined?
And now we got Sykes, who's going to be also whiny.
My response is that that's why you have the rules of evidence, and that's why we had motions in limine to, troubleshoot these types of issues and get preliminary rulings. You can't just attack someone's character for the sake of it because his client's worried about how the case is going for him. It doesn't give him a right to attack someone's character based upon someone who's not going to testify, maybe read the deposition, who has incredible mental health problems. And it's not right to let him go beyond the scope. He can put his own case on when he wants to, but asking a witness, she's, I think, 45, 49. He's been out of the house nearly 30 years, and to try to force her to ask questions about whether or not her sister, who hasn't testified, is truthful, runs an incredible risk of prejudicing the jury for someone who's not going to testify. And so I think, Your Honor, I'd like to just, when in doubt, go to the rules.
That could be, right?
And,
that could be.
Excuse me.
And this is going to be a huge
reputation
thing,
or opinion evidence. A witness's credibility may be attacked or supported by testimony about the witness's reputation for having a character for truthfulness or untruthfulness. That hasn't come in. And the fact that a daughter that he didn't get along with thinks he might lie isn't reputation evidence. Or by testimony in the form of an opinion about that character. The evidence of truthful character is admissible only after the witness's character for truthfulness has been attacked. It hasn't been attacked. B, specific instances of conduct.
Oh, they absolutely
except for a criminal conviction.
They wanted her here so badly.
Under Rule 609, extrinsic evidence is not admissible to prove instances of a witness's conduct in order to attack or support the witness's character for truthfulness. Okay? Not admissible. But the court may, on cross-examination, allow them to be inquired into if they're probative of the character for truthfulness or untruthfulness of the witness or another witness whose character the witness being cross-examined has testified about. And so,
where he's pegging it?
I don't think so. This witness hasn't even testified. We're talking about Terry Sanderson. Hasn't testified.
The thing is,
I know.
He's trying to go to
the topics of her. The topics of her direct examination will create the contours of what the cross-examination might be.
Except for a criminal conviction under 609. Extrinsic evidence is not admissible to prove specific instances of a witness's conduct in order to attack or support the witness's character for truthfulness.
I'd be cutting back to none a day.
Polly, sorry, thank you.
But I mean, they're trying to attack Terry with specific instances. Can't be done. And beyond that, Your Honor, I think it's just unfair. It chews up time. We're going to be late now in a minute or two. He can put his case on. If he lays a proper foundation, he can perhaps read Jenny's deposition for what it takes. You know, they served her with an illegal subpoena in Idaho, and she thought it came from us. Now, I don't know if there was misrepresentation.
We've already addressed this
Yeah.
issue.
But I mean, that's how.
You don't need to rehash it.
Okay, right. But I'm just saying that
and that's where he gets whiny too, right? They did this. The judge is like, we already argued about that. So
she's not going to testify. They have a deposition, and the court rules provide that they can read that under some circumstances. So, let them do that. But why harass this witness, trying to get her to indirectly condemn her father by either agreeing or disagreeing with something that she didn't witness? It just makes no sense. So I urge you to deny his request.
Okay. Thank you.
Probably smarter than I am. They're Kristen Van Orman. I'd like her to address it too.
Well, I think I'm just going to hear from one lawyer on the plaintiff side. Anything else, Mr. Owens?
Final statement. Thanks.
he's like, yeah,
James
no, I'm
did
not.
ask about personality traits on direct, and that his personality has changed. And
Was there any direct examination about truthfulness though and honesty? I don't have notes of that.
okay.
So I can see you questioning along the same lines of what you just did. I think that's fair.
And I did adjust my questioning to the court's concern.
But getting involved in, an underlying motivation for the lawsuit and for pursuing the lawsuit, I didn't hear any direct examination on that topic.
There certainly was yesterday, and
I realized there was with another witness, and you can certainly cross-examine or call those other witnesses and address that with them. But with this witness, I think the cross is limited to the scope, at least in the plaintiff's case. I mean, you can recall her in your case later, and that may change what you can ask. But at least right now, the plaintiff is entitled to put their case on.
so we did have an order. One of our orders is subpoena for one, is subpoena for all.
So one of the questions I will ask at the end of this witness's testimony today is this witness now released?
Would she prefer that? Frankly, I'm thinking of the witness.
I know, but right now the objection is beyond the scope.
Okay, so does everyone agree that that this witness will be available
This
next
is
week?
going to get really interesting
She's
here.
subpoenaed. I can remind her of that fact when she finishes her testimony.
She's not released.
Is she subpoenaed, Mr. Sykes?
This is going to get interesting because this is messed up.
We didn't subpoena her.
He's like, oh shit.
Find it right
We
here.
emailed the plaintiff's lawyer. We intend to call the three daughters. Will you accept service? And I remember the answer being, but I could be corrected. We will accept service for these two daughters and not for this third.
Okay.
I don't
Now-
receive that, Judge. There's
We do.
4 of us working on this. I don't have
I-
a recollection of that. I'm not calling my good friend Mr. Owens a liar.
No,
but
because
I don't remember that.
I-
Show it to me.
Okay.
All right. So why this is messed up is this is critical. You need witnesses for a trial, right? You need witnesses. And so you need to make sure that they're subpoenaed because a subpoena is the thing that says that your witness has to actually be there. Because let's say somebody's being charged with murder, right? And I witnessed the murder. If the prosecution doesn't subpoena me, then whether or not I show up as that to testify about that is entirely up to me. I can decide I want to show up and then they can, have me testify if they want. But I can show up and watch and they can say, we want you to testify. And I can say, no, I'm not subpoenaed. I'm not required to testify. Or I can just go somewhere else and leave. I can walk away and, they don't have any ability to compel me to be there. Subpoenas are critical. You have to make sure that witnesses that you need are subpoenaed, and failing to do so and failing to nail that down is basic crap. You got to have that. So right now we are in spicy zone. Sorry, I had to do it. All right, let's look here. And I see Owens lied under oath. Owens hasn't been under oath. I don't think. Why would he be under oath? That doesn't make sense to me. All right, let's.
So, by the way, if you can't tell, I'm not speaking, I didn't expect this issue to arise. So I do recall specifically, and Lawrence was the one who emailed, we are not representing Jenny. You have to subpoena her directly. And this may take a minute, Your Honor.
You can hear the tension in his voice.
I mean,
because he's
these broad
freaking
criticisms
out.
by their expert based on the fact witnesses without being able to talk to the fact witnesses about the basis for it. I don't know how to do that other than in this manner.
He's
All I'm saying is
freaking
that
out.
we need to call the jury in. You can do your cross-examination, but if they're, as to the objection, limiting it to the scope of the direct, that would be sustained.
Okay, and we can.
You can call the witness later.
The witness will agree to appear next week.
I don't know if she will, and even if she does, is that something that you can rely on?
How do we get subpoena for one and subpoena for all? What does that mean? That's the court's order. That, to me, that means.
It means if a witness has been subpoenaed, then
Which
they
she
remain on
hasn't,
that subpoena
apparently.
until the court releases that subpoena. If the witness hasn't been subpoenaed, then they simply haven't been subpoenaed, and I have no control over that.
Lawrence, will you agree that you accepted service of the subpoena for these two daughters?
No, that's not true.
Do you have a copy of the subpoena?
Those the three daughters, they live in Washington State. 3 states.
You have a copy of the subpoena? Give it to her now.
He's
It's
saying,
pretty simple.
let's fix this. You can subpoena her right now. I don't see how that's reasonable. Because
Has the plaintiff subpoenaed Polly?
So I can't rely on an email from Bob Sykes saying, we are intending to call Polly and Shay.
That's our witness list. It's not subpoena.
intending to call is different than a subpoena, right? And the reason why they're saying that subpoena for one is subpoena for all is, is a thing, is that otherwise both sides have to subpoena. So, because this is a mistake you can make. Like, let's say the other side has subpoenaed a particular witness, and then you want to hear from that witness, but they can release that witness if you haven't also subpoenaed them. This is bad. Like, hey, we intend to call this, but like, do it. So, yeah. And I see EDB was like, every lawyer should have subpoenas in their briefcases. I never did, because I can tell you that for criminal law, like if I subpoenaed somebody at the courthouse, the court would say that's not valid. That's no good, because you need to leave them time to actually make arrangements. And I see the plaintiff did subpoena her, then claimed she wasn't under force of it, saying she was there voluntarily. If that's true, then the plaintiff's counsel should eat some, like, should eat a hammer from the judge, is basically what that comes down to.
This is an email, January 24, 2023. And then in response to a question, will you accept service of their subpoenas? I mean,
And what's the response?
Pretty sure it was negative, Your Honor.
I'm waiting. They've got the email.
we are intending to call Polly and Shay. That's it.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like the witness is under subpoena. You can certainly ask her if she is.
Yeah.
They say they don't think so. Now that's not a no.
That's more technical than I usually get with plaintiff's counsel. I mean, we're calling her, and subpoena one for one is subpoena for all.
So are we ready for the jury?
Your Honor, can we just have a quick sidebar?
Sure.
He's like, I already ruled on this. Are we ready for the jury? This feels greasy. This feels like, I don't know who screwed up, but if plaintiff's counsel is playing a game on this one, it is greasy as hell. If they didn't, then defense is sloppy as hell. But either way, Owens should have nailed this down. And yes, he's going to get more unlikable here real soon. That is 100% true, which is part of why I'm bringing this clip up. I also want to cover this. Can we please end the HIPAA debate in the chat? As a nurse, I'm confident in saying it applies only to the healthcare industry. Correct. A sibling is not a patient. Disrespectful, but not a violation. Also doesn't apply in courtrooms. All of that is correct. HIPAA doesn't protect you from some random person talking about your medical information if they somehow get a hold of it. It protects you from your doctors and your treating, people who are treating you and so forth, divulging your medical information. So, yeah. All right. So this gets worse. And Michelle Brennan is saying a lawyer is supposed to speak truth in a courtroom. Correct. Owens has lied at least twice about Jenny being there and him paying for her trip. He said he offered to pay, but if that's not correct, they can go after, that would be something they could go after him for. So, yeah. All right. While they're sidebarring, we can look at some super chats here. She's a neuropsychologist, so not an MD, although I think she said she has an MD as well. I don't know. If she's trying to study post-concussive for research with Tom Brady, yeah, lots of people didn't like that. So that's going to be interesting. She has zero foundation to assume his condition was superior prior to the collision. She just hears that from him. That's it. Is this typical of lawyering, or is it always this disorganized? It shouldn't be this disorganized. You should not have subpoena questions on this. This is not a place to have subpoena questions. Polly reminds me very much of my golden child sister that loves looking down on all my failures. That is a feeling a lot of people had. Gary Reese, thank you for the YouTube membership. Can they still settle now that the trial is already halfway through? They absolutely can. If you saw Depp v. Heard, they can settle after the verdict. So, yep, they can still settle now. I hear a pup who has opinions. Can this witness not just say that my sister's response, or that is my sister's response? We may have different experiences of our father. Yep. Lacey P, thank you very much for the super sticker. And thank you as well for the membership there. Are there limits on protections for in-court statements? Yes. Could I just trash talk unrelated people in my testimony? There are limits to it. You can go too far and end up stepping outside of privilege for this. So, yeah. Ian, why does every lawyer have to meet at the bench? Is it like fear of missing out? I think that they can skip over it, but they are all there. Lol, Spicy Zone, the laugh I didn't know I needed watching from my desk at work. Thanks from Sydney. Thank you very much. Lacey P, correct Ian. Thank you. Hi, Runkle. I hope the jury does interviews after all is said and done. I'm always curious where their mind frame was during the trial. I would love to hear what the jury has to say. I'm super curious, frankly. Sorry, I just tried to call Zora. We'll see. Thank you as well to Canonical Heat for 10 gifted memberships. So I see this has to be a shitty attorney that Gwyneth's insurance carrier assigned to her. It's possible. I don't know if she's
ready for the
feeling
jury?
thrilled.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Oh, thank you very much. Very generous. Much appreciated. And now we've got Gwyneth stepping back in. Oh, remember how the cameras were only supposed to be aimed at counsel? And only the person talking? Rob and I had a debate over that. Yeah, that was aimed right at her. So, do both sides have to disclose who they subpoenaed? Usually, yes. So, yeah, I thought that was not so cool. We'll see if Zora will come. She's tried to summon her, but yeah. Why can't she be filmed? They have a decorum order that dictates what the cameras can and can't do. And this is entirely possible. I wonder if we'll hear about that camera angle tomorrow. We might, because, yeah. Also, people harp on GP not being on camera, but like the plaintiff doesn't have to be in court, so I think it's fair. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Let the record reflect the jury's back in the room and parties and counsel are present. Mr.
Yes,
Owens?
I
need
quite
to
enjoyed this
apologize. I was
debate
being
because,
asked
yeah,
earlier. You are, it was wrong for me to triangulate you, your dad, and your sister, and your mom. And I ask for your forgiveness.
I was talking over that, so let's bring this back in to hear it again, because, oh my goodness. This is astounding. I didn't see Ben Chu talking about that, but I'll try to check it out. So this is the jury filing back in, right? Jury's in the room.
Okay. Thank you. Let the record reflect the jury's back in the room and parties and counsel are present. Mr. Owens?
I need to apologize. I was being an ass earlier. You are, it was wrong for me to triangulate you, your dad, and your sister, and your mom. And I ask for your forgiveness. You love your dad, fair?
True.
You love your mom?
True.
You love your sister, both sisters?
All right. So first, he's just told the jury he's an ass. And you know what? The jury agrees with him, right? But also that apology was stupid. I mean, first, did that apology seem legit to anybody else? Did that apology seem decent to a single person? I am pretty sure that apology just seemed pretty awful. That I actually like him less after the apology than I did beforehand. So yeah, he doesn't even miss a beat before he goes into the next question. I beg your forgiveness. All right, now you love your dad, right? Let's hit you with that question. All right, I'm going to step aside for just a second. I'm going to throw up a bathroom break overlay, and then I will be right back because it's not me going to the bathroom. It's the pup. She's making I gotta pee noises. So we're just going to throw that up. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I just had to step out, and I did not want the puppy to leave a puddle in my house. So they are now out and running about. But yeah, that I really hated that apology. Both because it's stupid to make the apology and tell the jury that you're an ass, and second, because it was such a bad apology. It makes it so much worse. Yeah, I just did not get that one. All right, let's jump ahead a little bit here.
This was just, do you have any reason to dispute?
I need to rule on the second objection,
Right.
which is overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Sorry. All right. Do you have any reason to dispute your dad's statement that he thought it was cool that he'd been in an accident with a celebrity?
I do not think it was cool. I cannot dispute whether or not my father thought it was cool.
Perfect. Okay. Now, nowhere on this does it say I'm hurt. True?
Correct.
And
Now, I should just note the dogs are outside right now, so they're busy doing their thing. I will have to let them in a little bit, but yeah. Yes. So next it'll be me running out because they're barking at the neighbors. Yes.
this link is important. Would you agree to know what was going on within hours of the accident?
Yes.
And we've asked for this link. Do you know where it is?
I do not.
Or what was posted?
Thank you,
Have
Chad.
you ever seen it?
I can't answer yes or no. I'm sure I clicked the link. That would have been the logical thing.
And do you remember what it was?
No.
Okay, now we can go to the top half. Your sister Shay has responded. This was her genuine response. Do you see it's about an hour and a half later, 9:32 on the date of the event? Do you see that?
Yes.
This
All
is
right.
going to be critical.
Dad, I cannot believe how unlucky and how crazy this all is. I also can't believe this is all on GoPro. What are the chances? I'm so glad you're okay. How are you feeling this evening? All right. I cannot believe how unlucky and how crazy this all is. Do you remember receiving Shay's reply?
Yes.
And actually, as I look at that was not a trick question, but I can see you are actually not on this reply. Do you see your name isn't copied to all?
I maybe I've read that somewhere then because it looks familiar to me.
And I just realized it just now. Okay. By the way, your sister just weeks earlier had injured herself skiing. Is that true?
Correct.
Like 3 weeks earlier, she blew out her knee.
Tore an ACL and an MCL.
Those are knee issues, right?
Correct.
All right.
So he did really good hitting on the GoPro. I mean, he's got to keep hitting on the GoPro. I see Ugly Snake. There is no GoPro video, but you keep bringing it up. Snakes. The thing is that there not being a GoPro video is exactly the point he's making. He's saying, you guys talk about a GoPro video. There's probably a GoPro video, but we don't have it. And if the other side wants to say there was never a GoPro video, that's going to be for the plaintiffs to deal with, right? Defense is going to say, how come that says there's a GoPro video? Where is this? So that's huge, right? So I see, was this a genuine mistake? I can't tell. Was he trying to impeach her by getting her to admit something that isn't true? Email she was never sent. No, it doesn't look like it because it doesn't actually write in to try to impeach here. Let's have a look at another little bit here. We're going to speed up once she's done.
Now, I'm thinking back when my mom was 76. Did you notice things? This is pre-collision. So let's just say in the year before that. Dad's starting to get older. Did you think to yourself about that?
I never felt like my dad was getting older or that I had noticed something like that.
So when he's 68 years old, never considered like he's starting to get older.
I mean, by numbers, yes.
I kind of feel like it.
And I have lots of people in my family that I've watched age. You know, my mother, my grandmother, my father and mother-in-law. I know what that's like. You know, my mom that can't remember the name of that author. But when there's a marked change in somebody's cognition, memory, and just functioning, it's more of a switch type feeling. It didn't feel gradual.
Do you remember the fact that your dad had a stroke contributed? First of all, did your dad have a stroke before the ski incident?
I'm not aware of a stroke. I know he had an occlusion that lost some visibility in his eye. I think it's like a restricted blood vessel.
Do you recall in your deposition saying he had a stroke?
I think you called it a stroke in the eye, meaning
Did you call it a stroke?
if I did, I misspoke and I should have had an opportunity to correct that.
Well, you did have an opportunity.
I was not aware of that.
So I'll dig it out if we have to. Let's keep going. Your dad had an event where the oxygen in his eye, in his right eye, was essentially turned off, and he lost his right eye. Is that fair?
He lost some vision in his right eye, and what are the odds for somebody that's spent a lifetime committed to eye health, right?
There's a reference to he's an optometrist and he's not a medical physician, true?
He's an optometric physician and optometrist.
So here's my question. Is he a medical physician, an MD?
No.
No. Okay, so now let's go through. A few statements here.
I mean, she
I'll
is
tell you what,
not.
I think this will be the most efficient
This
way.
feels a little Weasley to me.
A couple weeks before the ski collision, your dad went to a doctor, and he said he thinks all of a sudden he's gotten old. All of a sudden, did he ever express those
This is the
sentiments
problem
to you?
for him,
No.
right?
And it sounds like you never went to the doctor with him.
Here's the thing. Why would Gwyneth retain someone like Owen as her lawyer? I mean, first, there's the possibility that this guy was hired by an insurance company. I don't know, and we'll never know. But the other thing is that you don't actually usually know how your lawyer is going to do in court until they're doing it in court, right? So that is something. So she may not have known. Now, let's they go at her all day.
What I can speak to is the fact that I have had a relationship with her for 40, 41 years. She's kind of my first baby. I was 6 when she was born. So I can just speak to that relationship and growing up with her.
You were saying, I think you said she had another way of perceiving things. Is that what you were saying?
I think they will, and they'll
Yeah,
ask
I
him
think she
directly
has
if
a
he was
unique way of
filming
looking at
this.
the world.
That's not always true.
Your Honor.
It's not always easy. Yeah.
Just a minute.
She can't make a credibility statement about her sister's thoughts.
Sustained.
Let me rephrase
And
that.
also sustained as to vagueness.
Okay. When you said another way of, I want to quote you correctly, another way of perceiving or understanding, you said that.
I did say that. I think
Now, what did you mean by that is my question.
it kind of comes back to Mr. Owens when I spoke with him earlier, and he was saying, so are you telling the truth or is she telling the truth? And I had a hard time
I do,
answering
yes.
that because I can
There's
speak to
more
my
and more
own
interest in
experience,
this
but I
trial,
am not
and I
in
think
her
that there's
lived
going to be more
experience
and
with
more
her,
people showing up.
who she is, and I have not lived her life and her experience. I know her to be truthful. I've never heard her lie. So if she's communicating that to you, that is her understanding of the experience. Yes, we have had times though when she has saw something that I have not seen, or I would portray it as differently than her.
Based on your knowledge of her in the past few years, okay, and your knowledge of her over the years as her sister and one who loves her, are her perceptions always accurate?
They're not.
Hold on one second, Judge.
Now they're having to tiptoe around the diagnosis here, or the actual underlying issue.
Thank you. Mr. Owens.
I understand Jenny to be a perfectly lovely, well-spoken person. Do you?
She's lovely. I would not use the words well-spoken.
Did you read her 136-page deposition?
Am I allowed to?
Of course you are.
No, I have not read her deposition.
Well, I don't know if you are, but I didn't give it to you. I'm just wondering. Does it surprise you that question and answering were perfectly eloquent? The whole thing for like hours and hours.
She has no foundation to answer that question, and that's just a personal opinion.
Sustained.
Does it surprise you that Jenny could talk eloquently for hours and hours?
Same objection.
Sustained. It sounds like counsel's testifying.
Okay. She has a bachelor's degree, right?
Whoa, it's hard fought, but we got there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the answer?
Yes, is the answer.
Oh man, did I not like that? I did not like that. It was hard fought, but we got there. You suck. That I did not like with Polly. Like, here's the thing. I struggled to get my bachelor's degree because I had attention deficit that was not being treated or not being properly dealt with. I did not like that at all. It was hard fought, but we got there. Not Polly got there. We got there. Like she's taking credit for yeah, I did not like that at all. So I just yeah. She worked hard and she got there. Yes. The sister, like, it's clear the sister's got some struggles, right? It's clear that she's had to push through and fight through whatever kind of difficulties she's got. But that just means that her degree is all the more impressive for her. And I feel like it seems to me that you know, that line there, that to me says that there's some, you know, some tension there. And I see, you know, people's, maybe her sister did not do it on her own. Runkle's projecting hard because of his experience. Unless she wrote the exams or she did the homework and, you know, so forth, then she did the degree, right? And if she, you know, and if Polly did write the exams and so forth, then that's a problem. So, I didn't like that sentence at all. Like, you know, we got there. It annoyed me. And then we've got this bit of spice.
I mean, it sounds like I'm defending your sister here, and you're not. So let's kind of talk about it.
No, because I will. Yeah.
Overruled.
That was overruled. Sounds like I'm defending your sister and you're not. Yeah. This just got a little crazy. And somebody was asking, is that Danny in the background? Yes, that's Danny and direct. So
You said Jenny is truthful. Yes?
I've never known her to lie, intentionally lie. No.
So
I feel like it is. Yes, that's Danny on direct in the audience there.
if she says your father violated boundaries she set for years, you defer to her?
No, that's beyond the scope, and he's already covered that in his.
Overruled.
I would say that's something my sister has communicated to me, is that it's something she really practices with my dad, is healthy boundaries.
And both the other sisters do too, right?
Yeah.
Set boundaries, and sometimes he violates them.
I think
True.
all healthy relationships have to have boundaries. And yes, that has been, after the accident, definitely something that I struggle with my dad.
No, the girl in red is Danny Ann Direct. She's got a channel here. So, yeah. There's a little bit further here.
Is she telling the truth when she believes that your dad would exaggerate for money and celebrity?
Objection, Your Honor, that's beyond the scope. That's also its counsel.
Overruled.
She would be telling her truth.
So, yeah, I mean, you can see why why the plaintiff's counsel doesn't want this in. I'm going to skip over the anal retentive thing, although I didn't think that worked out all that well for this witness as well. Let's go and we'll just briefly talk about this guy.
March 13th, 2023. This is the case of Terry Sanderson versus Gwyneth Paltrow, case number 190500048 in the 3rd Judicial District Court, Summit County, State of Utah. Counsel will now introduce themselves and the court reporter will swear in the witness.
So now we've got this guy who is, he looks very much like an egg.
Lawrence Bueller for Plaintiff Terry Sanderson.
James Egan for Gwyneth Paltrow, the defendant.
With me is also Robert Sykes.
I don't know, just myself, if I can ever get this thing turned on. Okay, Robert Sykes, also counsel for the plaintiff.
Doctor, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do, Madam Court Reporter.
Thank you. Go ahead, counsel.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so let's not go through everything about this guy because I will sum up this guy. He is boring AF. That said, I mean, assuming the jury was awake during any of what he said, some of what he said was really good for the plaintiff side. But I don't know if they were awake, and this guy is really not good at being animated at all. He was super, like, not. There was a moment of his testimony that I did really like.
Have been indicative of a permanent condition.
A permanent brain injury?
Yes, I mean, he has a mild TBI or a permanent concussive disorder.
Okay. You mentioned some things involved with executive function and other things, and he's exhibited all of those problems too.
Yeah, I mean, he does. Now, to what extent, I can't tell you. I wasn't going to provide any opinions with regards to his level of functioning as it relates to this mild TBI, but he does have the mild TBI. But the extent to which I'm not going to comment on because I'm not one of his treating physicians, nor am I one of his before and after witnesses.
In this collision,
I really liked that he was willing to just say, I'm not answering this because I don't know. This is outside my knowledge. I'm not going in there. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I like, this is one of the things that I watch for with witnesses. I see somebody saying, why skip over the anal retentive? Do people want me to cover the anal retentive? Do people want me to go look at that? I can bring that up. We're almost to the end here, but I can bring up the anal retentive. Yes, his theory of how the accident happened is different than their eyewitnesses. It's tough. I'm seeing some yeses. I'm seeing some no's. I think it's more no's than yeses, and it's getting a little late. And I have a copy of Sons of the Forest that is burning through my, burning a hole in my pocket here. So let's.
Is that correct?
Well, yeah, just the disclosure. I haven't reviewed any report or anything from them.
Okay. It's our understanding that he's a biomechanical
And I'll just
expert.
be right
Is
back.
that
I'm
your
going to let the
understanding?
dogs back in. And we're back. Sorry about that. So, I was talking with Danny earlier, and she was basically noting that the jury was so bored during that guy's testimony that the judge, when he said, like, no, we're gonna call it for today. You know, this is a good place to take an end. The jury was so relieved. So yeah, let's have a look because there's some stuff that happens now.
I wanted to ask Polly Gresham questions about her sister, Jenny Sanderson. And what I would have elicited had I been allowed is that Jenny has a schizophrenic, I think it's called typal diagnosis, and has a lot of psychological problems from that. Now, I'm not posing her as an expert, but as a layperson who knows her very well and knows the kind of problems that she has.
I have a concern with this being nationally publicized without the permission of this patient, with a pretty explosive statement that I've never seen one iota of evidence. I don't think, and specifically, Mr. Sykes does not represent Jenny. And unless he has written permission to make these disclosures to an even international audience, I'm pretty troubled by it.
And it's too late because, I mean, we've got 2,000 people here. I thought about skipping over this, except that like Law and Crime had, you know, tens of thousands earlier today. And, you know, Emily D. Baker, I think also tens of thousands of people and so forth. And that was just broadcast to everybody. This is one of the few places where Owens actually gets the like award for being nice. Like that. So yeah, I mean, there's no way to put that, you know, you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. It's out there. And, you know, he says, like, I haven't seen any proof of this. I've seen an allegation of it. So, and I see somebody saying Court TV cut it off. I think they didn't. I watched it live on Court TV. Or I watched it live on Law and Crime, rather. So it went out. So yeah, it's I see Owens is decent here, but posturing. I mean, it is to his benefit, but he is still landing on the side of decent. So, all right.
I think it's a big violation of this woman's privacy.
I agree. If we're going to make a statement, I mean, if you want to make a record, I think we should make a record, but we should do it in camera.
Well, okay, let's do that.
All right. So if we could please go ahead and clear the courtroom. We'll take 5 minutes so that the press gets turned off. We clear the courtroom, and then you can make your offer of proof.
Yeah. And
little late, huh? Little late. I mean, we just dropped it in front of everybody. So.
And secondly, to make this publicly, we never subpoenaed Polly Gresham officially. We gave her a subpoena so she could show it to her employer if she needed to. But we expected that she would come. If she didn't come, we were without, you know. We had a deposition. And so she was to appear today. Excuse me.
Now this, I wonder, we didn't subpoena her. We gave her a subpoena. So we served a subpoena on her so that she could show it to her employer. Either she's subpoenaed or she's not subpoenaed. And or the other alternative is they gave her a fake subpoena to show to her employer, which means that they are like a participant in a fraud. Like, I got some concerns. I got some questions. Like, you gave her a subpoena. That is subpoenaing her. And if you didn't subpoena her, you shouldn't be giving her a fake subpoena that she can take to her work. I mean, you could write her a note that says, we need her to testify, but you can't like, oh, I do not like this at all. Do not like this even a little bit.
And when she finished, you ordered her to come back next week. Now, I think that's improper. She has a lot of other things going on in her life, her job, etc., and I don't think she should have to stay around. Now, if you disagree and you have the black robe and I do not, okay, then
They need to stop using that line because everybody using it there. Everybody's been using it.
we ought to have an agreement that she can appear via Zoom. But I don't think she has an obligation under the facts I've given you to be forced to return here next week.
And as I indicated earlier, I mean, I asked her if she would have any problem remaining under the subpoena. She didn't voice that. At that time, I realized I put her on the spot. So if she, and you're not representing her. She voiced it to me. And you're not representing her.
No.
And so if she
Yeah, I
would
do
like
not
to be
like it,
released from the
Sam, I am.
subpoena or have its terms changed in some way, she can certainly request that.
Well,
On all sides and make a decision. Okay. Sure. Let's have her come in. And then I guess if there's anything else we should do before we close the hearing.
Well, just, do we have a piece of paper that says what Mr. says is true about this woman's health?
I guess let's cover that in the in-camera part of the hearing.
I think the audience ought to know, like, it may not be true.
In Terry Sanderson's deposition, he indicated as such. So there is an iota. There is an iota. There is an iota of indication of this in Terry Sanderson's deposition about his daughter.
I read it two days ago. It does not say that word.
Well, even if it did, that too would be improper to introduce into this proceeding in the public way.
Right. What I'm saying is that the statement of counsel that there's not an iota of this.
There is not.
Then in the motion for a protective order, there was also additional information that points in there. So it's more than an iota.
Okay. So Polly, why don't you come on up and take the stand? We're just trying to straighten out. I understand that you may.
You hear that? He's never, and plaintiff's counsel doesn't disagree with this. He's never seen a diagnosis. Like, he's never seen a piece of paper that says that. Plaintiff's counsel could have argued with it, but they don't. Instead, they say it was mentioned during the deposition, and it doesn't appear that that's the case. So, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that this diagnosis is like 100% and whatever else. I don't know it. So yeah. I have some real concerns about all of this.
You have some commitments where you'd like to be able to leave town. Why don't you explain that to us?
So now we're
I work with 4-H, and so one of the things I'm committed to is having programming when kids are out of school, because typically that's a time when they get in trouble. So that being said, in our community, it's spring break, and so I have a science camp all next week, and it's our first time in our new youth center. So it's kind of, it's a small town, but a big deal for me. So I understand that you need more information. I don't know if remote is a possibility. There could be kids in the background. No, I could probably have staff cover me if that was something that would work.
Your Honor, we'll release her from the subpoena.
Okay. Entirely?
Entirely.
Okay. So you're and the plaintiffs do as well?
Yes.
Okay. So you're released from the subpoena. You have no legal obligation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your service here.
This is also Owens being surprisingly decent. So,
she can come.
But now he's going to regret it.
Evening. She can come into court tomorrow and watch, right?
My flight's in the morning, so.
All right.
So I'm not agreeing to release her for hardship and have her sit in the courtroom. Then I wouldn't release her for hardship.
She just said she's leaving.
If you're released from your subpoena, that means a couple of things. That means, first of all, according to the decorum order that the court has issued, the press might want to ask you some questions, and you can talk to them, or you can decide not to talk to them. That's your choice, and the bailiffs are here to help make sure that they respect your choice.
I prefer you not talk. Can we get it? I guess I sort of assumed that she wouldn't be talking to the press, or I wouldn't. Again, I think we're doing a kind gesture to release her from the subpoena, but I don't want it to come back and slap me. So can we agree that she's not going to talk to the press until after the trial?
And is there a chance you may want to call her by Zoom?
No, I'm agreeing to do that. I just don't want to be punished for doing a kind.
And why would that be a punishment?
That she goes and talks to the press negatively about my client?
I'm just saying, why would that be a negative? The order's out there. You're aware of its terms, and she's now being released. Therefore, she's released from that. The press is released. I want to be fair to the press as well.
Can we ask the witness whether she intends to talk to the press right now?
I think you could probably do that after we quit here today. So, and I was just interrupted.
She's shaking her head no, Your Honor, but go ahead. I apologize.
Just to let you know that both sides have agreed not to talk to the press until after the case is over.
I think that's a good idea and reasonable. I can abide by that.
Okay.
I'm enough person and felt vulnerable enough that this is on video, so
So the press is all listening now. She's expressing her interest not to be interviewed, so I expect them to respect that.
Sure.
And then the second, I guess the second consequence of you being released from your subpoena is that you're welcome to sit in on any of the proceeding from here on out.
Don't anticipate that. Got things to do.
You can watch it if it's being broadcast in your area.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Judge, I'd like to stay for a minute so we can proffer her testimony, if that's okay.
Sure.
In camera.
Sure. So if you could just wait a few more minutes. Do you have a
So, Polly, if you want, you can watch these recaps. You are now entitled to watch these recaps. But yeah, basically what's happened is because she was released from the subpoena, she is free to talk to the police. Or to the press rather, never talk to the police. She's free to talk to the press, and she's also free to watch trial coverage. So, Polly, come join us. Lawyer could have done this in a way that wasn't so whiny. He absolutely could have. She has said that she doesn't plan to talk to the press until this is done. So, yeah.
minute to take the stand?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else public that we need to do today?
So we can't change the deal. I mean, you release, I release, and suddenly she's giving more testimony. So by giving more testimony, I may not release.
Understood.
So let's not whack me with my kindness here.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Is there anything other than this subject that we can
Oh,
address
for heaven's
while
sakes.
the proceeding is public that we need to address?
No. Well, just that your Honor said if the diagnosis comes out at trial, it could be a mistrial. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay. I did say something along those lines, and it's not going to be put out in front of the jury. So we'll move forward from there. So we'll take a 5-minute recess while the courtroom gets cleared, and then we'll continue with the offer of proof. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if it comes out at trial, it might be a mistrial. You can already hear that he might be inclined to seek a mistrial. She's free to come here and interview with Runkle. She is. I will extend that offer. If she wants to, she is more than welcome to come on and say whatever she'd like. So the reason why she's there is now to she's going to provide some evidence as to whether or not the sisters got a diagnosis. They are going to be plaintiff's counsel wants to get that out. And keep in mind, plaintiff's counsel represents dad. So, and yeah, I see she might actually not be, Owen said he might not release depending on the additional proffer. That is true. He might say we're not releasing. So, they might end up getting stuck there. But I just want you to sort of think a little bit here about plaintiff's counsel represents dad, right? And so dad's lawyers on behalf of dad are willing to drop that diagnosis in public. Does that make you think something about dad? Because if I was dad and, if my kid was struggling with whatever, I would be pretty pissed if my lawyers did that. I would have had them with explicit instructions not to tank my kid in public, even if it cost me money. So, yeah, and I see dad is the one who said it to attorneys. Yep. So, here's the thing. People are like, I hate defendant's counsel. I hate this. I hate everybody. That's where I'm landing on this one is I hate everybody. I don't like Paltrow. I don't like Sanderson. I don't like any of the lawyers. Clark Kent's okay. He can stick around. Some of the lawyers on the plaintiff side, I don't know her name. The woman there, she hasn't done anything that annoys me. Some of the other lawyers haven't talked at all. So I guess that's my favorite people, is the people who haven't talked. I like the judge. Judge is okay. But I don't like any of these people. And the real sad thing is that there's going to be a verdict that somebody walks away okay, right? So somebody's got to win on this one, and I don't like that. And so my ultimate, where I land on this is give the money to Jenny. Everybody loses. Jenny gets the money. So that's what I would. Now, that is not an outcome that can happen. Like, the court doesn't have any ability to make that happen. But yeah. And, her truth is sounding like the truth. I mean, kind of. If you've got a situation where dad is willing to throw her under the bus, does it sound like maybe Jenny's notions of dad mistreating her might have some legs? I don't know. Like, I just can't say anything about what's going on here, but I really don't like this. I like Jenny best of all of them. Can the jury say you both lose? Go away. Yes. And that's a victory for Gwyneth Paltrow. If they say nobody gets any money, you all pay your own costs, leave, then Gwyneth Paltrow has won at the end of the day, right? That's a big sort of, big benefit for that. So yeah, I see people saying, I don't believe the plaintiff, it was an accident. I just don't know. Right. And I just, I don't know. This one is really messy. It's gotten ugly. It's gotten brutal. Rungel should interview Jenny. You know what? I would be okay with that, but I would want, that's not some, if she reached out to me, if she sent me an email saying, hi, I'm the daughter, I'd be like, cool. We're doing this not as a live interview. That would be a recorded thing, because I feel bad for Jenny, right? I hope she's okay. I hope she's fine. And I wouldn't want anything that would embarrass her or cause her trouble or anything like that. So yeah, I hope Jenny's okay. That's the thing. And I'm just going to say, the chances that she reaches, I'm not going to try to find Jenny and, send her an email or anything. And the chances that she sees this somehow and reaches out are very poor. But I hope she's okay. That's really what it comes down to. So love for Jenny. We like her. Yeah. I have no idea what to make of this, right? I have never seen so much money spent on lawyers, because each side has several lawyers there doing so badly. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But let's wrap it up here. I don't think I'm going to go back to the, unless there's a real push for me to go back to the anal retentive. Do people really want the anal retentive? We'll do a really quick poll. Anal retent. All right, so we'll do this for like 2 minutes as a poll. Do people want me to go back and cover that one? So hit that poll real quickly, because we'll just cover this in just a couple minutes. But I feel like YouTube is going to read that as the wrong thing. Yeah, I see people. Yeah. All right, let's just see where the poll is at. You guys cannot decide. It is like 50-50. All right. So if you don't want to see the anal retentive, now's a good time to sign off, because I'll go back. This will be it after we sort of go through everything. This will be the last thing. We'll go back and look at that. So if you don't want to see that, this is your moment to sign off. And yeah. Let's see if it'll load. Assuming I can actually successfully bring it up, because it's doing this. Why is it doing this? There we go. All right, hit the like button on your way out.
That your dad would exaggerate for money and celebrity.
Objection, Your Honor, that's beyond the scope. That's also, it's counsel.
Overruled.
She would be telling her truth.
People are accusing me of lawyer math. Was the poll not close? I thought it was like 52% and 48.
I am winding up here.
Or yeah, 52%, 47%. That's close to 50.
Is she telling the truth when she says he's deceptive?
Objection, that's improper.
Gotta pull this up.
I think we covered this before also, didn't we?
That's a new word.
Okay. Overruled.
I would say she's telling her truth.
Is she telling her truth when she says
The Jenny situation is very complicated.
I'm having a problem finding my quote on this. I apologize. Give me 1 second, please.
We got it. Thank you.
He will get whatever monetary benefit he can in business, even if it's dishonest.
Gone through.
That's not a
And
quote,
it's-
but it is a summary.
It's totally irrelevant. It's improper question.
Overruled.
I don't know that to be true. Again, this is Jenny's supposition.
Is she telling the truth when she describes your dad as anal retentive?
I'm thinking that word came up with my older sister too, because she brought up that word and I said, I don't even know what anal retentive means.
Jenny.
What does anal retentive mean? So if you're talking like type A in order and details, I would say that's true.
Okay, so let me make sure we rephrase, make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
Is she telling the truth when she says he has anal retentive? He's anal retentive.
I would not call him anal retentive, no.
Okay, but both your sisters did, right? Shay said that too. Do you recall?
Shay said that the word anal retentive came up in her deposition, and I said it did not come up in mine.
Well, I didn't make it up.
Came from somewhere.
Okay, anal retentive has nothing to do with our bottoms. Is that true? Just to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Yeah.
It's got the word anal in it.
I know. I don't like saying it.
Is that the definition?
I'll tell you what. I think it's obsessive, sort of. That's how I understand it. And it is. She asked me, but I'll be quiet.
Yeah, let's move on.
Those are all
You
my
don't get.
questions. Thank you.
You don't get to
Mr. Sykes,
say
anything
that.
else? Okay.
What's up?
So that was just such a weird moment, right? And she's dodging. She has to know what anal retentive means, right? We've all heard that before. So yeah, actually, it does have to do with butts, kind of. I mean, it's Freud, so it's yeah. Enjoying the streams, thanks. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go through super chats. Yeah, she did successfully dodge that, but so let's go through the super chats and then I will shut things down here. But thank you very much, Susan Davidson. Much appreciated. Do you think the courtroom will fill over time? I do. It's getting more and more popular, so we'll see more and more people going down to watch it. Six Picky Sticks. This is where he found his stride. I watched every painfully long minute. Had I been on that jury, I'd have seen her credibility eroded with each subsequent defensive, evasive, vocally fried answer. Yep. I didn't like how evasive she was as well. So yeah, I mean, this case got surprisingly interesting. The skiing case went downhill fast. It started downhill. How dare she take credit for her sister's degree? Spurious. That made a lot of us upset, myself included. Bottom line, the man was injured by Miss Weirdo Paltrow. Fact, this boring lawyering is about not giving the man who's injured any money. I mean, that's certainly possible. I don't know yet. I can't say for certain sort of what we're looking at. Just Sarah Bellum just wanted to say thank you for your time, Runkle and chat. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much. I Becky, thank you very much. That's very generous. Much appreciated. Any grounds to sue lawyer for his comment? I don't think so. I don't think that that's something that you can sue over. So how can the insured jury doesn't hear of Jenny's diagnosis over the weekend? They're not, the jury's not supposed to review any of this, but I mean, they might. It's entirely possible. And then all it takes is one to talk about it in the background. So that's all it takes. Mr. Fusion, noting cheers. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, and cheers. Maddie, welcome. Thank you for the membership there. And Sam Samuels, thank you very much. That's very generous. All right. I see Polly is perfect of a person, excessively order and fussy, supposedly owing to conflict over toilet training in infancy. Yep, that's sort of our definition there. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up here. It's, yeah, and I see it's not beyond a reasonable doubt in civil court. In fact, the standard here is super low, kind of. It's 50% plus a grain of sand, or plus, plus something. And they only need 3/4 of the jury to agree. So we don't know. Yeah, it's 50% plus a scintilla. And so, yeah. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to test out a new wrapping things up method. So hopefully this will work out well. Let me know sort of what you guys think. All right. Oh, I see. Please summarize about Jenny to bring me up to speed. I can do that really briefly. Jenny apparently has very different opinions about her father. She describes him as controlling and abusive. Polly basically says that's her truth, but it's maybe not the truth. And so there's questions about whether or not Polly is, or whether or not Jenny is, able to provide useful information. How is that not a HIPAA violation? Because he is not her healthcare practitioner. HIPAA affects healthcare practitioners. It doesn't affect random third parties. All right, so I'm going to hit the wrap up button and see you guys next time.